here. Okay, and we're back from the MIT Media Lab for the, what is this, fifth installment of Napkins to Launch, I think. And we've got some speakers with us that have traveled around the world to be with us, first to present and then to hack, and also some presenter online. After we get these presentations, we're going to be going to do project hacking and continuing with kind of doing the prototype slides, and pairing up the technologists, business people, legal people. So without further ado, should we go directly to Nick?
Let's do that.
Carolyn says yes. Before I do it. So Nick, if you could introduce yourself, please, and just tell us a little bit about what you'll be presenting, and come off mute, if you would, and then everyone should come off mute. Everyone should be on mute who isn't speaking. And Nick, you have the floor.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Okay, if you can't hear me, just yell. I'll just speak louder. But okay, looks like it's good. So as I was saying before, my name's Nick Dodson. I'm a coder working for Consensus, and I've been working with sort of Bitcoin for about 2 years. I've been a coder for about 7 or 8 years. I'm a philosophy undergrad, although currently that route has just sort of died out a little bit. But anyway, essentially, I've been working on a few different projects on Ethereum, a few different decentralized apps, so it's on the sort of application layer of Ethereum. One is to do with crowdfunding, and the other one's to do with governance. So today, I think, just given the sort of legal discussions, and because this is an MIT law sort of hackathon, I think I'm going to cover more of the governance project that I've been working on. So essentially, Ethereum, as I'm sure many other speakers have told you before, is sort of this one giant state transition system. So it holds state sort of over the internet, essentially. And because of this, it makes the system particularly good or conducive to doing decentralized governance and voting. One of the early sort of ideas was that you could do ballots and you could do sort of various different kinds of voting on Ethereum, and the platform was very good at it because accounts would go on, they would vote, and you could table proposals and sort of make sense of different subjects, essentially establish consensus, which is once again part of almost the nature of Ethereum itself, which is to establish one state or sort of consensus over time. So basically, the system was very conducive to this sort of stuff. So early on, I started a project called Boardroom, which is a sort of a governance project with the idea that you can form boards on the blockchain and form them in a productive way that sort of has many practical uses, but also can just sort of establish governance and governance structure on the blockchain. So, I mean, as lawyers or potential lawyers and so on, I mean, this is, all stuff that is to do with sort of, corporate governance. It could also just be governance itself and law itself. So the idea was, build a system that is sort of apolitical, that basically is just trying to get at building a technical apparatus to do voting, boardrooms, governance on Ethereum. And so what I've been building and what's been built has essentially been this and a lot more. And I've started to figure out that this sort of utility can be used for an enormous amount of applications and an enormous amount of governance, either replacing existing governance structures or building existing governance structures into Ethereum in a way where it can all be done kind of out in the open and in public. So basically, I'll go into a little more of the sort of technical side of Boardroom, and then I'll walk you through some of the UI that someone using Boardroom would see. And I hope that this can give the hackathon kind of participants some ideas of the possibilities of Ethereum, and sort of what's possible on this sort of new technology. So anyway, with governance, there's been a few kind of key challenges, which is if you're an organization behaving on the blockchain, you really do want to hold your organizational identity through time. So you want to be this one sort of account or actor that's working in this sort of giant ecosystem and is, performing sort of governance roles or actions and behaviors all the time. And the reason why you want to have this sort of one account or this single account is because you want to maintain an identity. So organizational identity is going to be really critical. In fact, identity on Ethereum in general is going to be a very challenging and interesting sort of concept to tackle. But the one that I've been sort of technically tackling with contracts is how does an organization or a board maintain their identity over time and perform governance, and also, really crazy, be able to change its own structure, so its own constitution, while also going outward and performing actions as a governance system. So with Boardroom, you get a lot of basics. You get a lot of simple stuff like standard membership voting, equity-weighted voting, proposals, members, subcommittees, all the sort of standard stuff you'd hear from boards and sort of governance. But you also get some other interesting things, which is that you can actually change the very structure of the governance itself. So you can change what makes a proposal a winning proposal. You can change what defines membership. You can change all of the sort of philosophical components of the organization and do it contractually. And so you have this really enormously complex system that's really elegant, but still maintaining an account or contractual identity. So anyway, just to recap, identity is important, and essentially over time, you'll want to maintain the same sort of identity, but you also want to be able to change your governance structure, potentially, because there may be better ones later on. And you also want to be able to kind of perform actions in this sort of blockchain ecosystem. So anyway, there's a lot of different topics.
Just one other thing you said a moment ago, but you didn't repeat in the summary, but I felt it was among the most important things you said was in the open. When you were talking about being able to add the layer of governance and those particular capabilities that are not natively supported, they're subtle, and some of them you have to do creative thinking to interpret how to apply those rules to this new technology, and that's what it sounds like you're doing. But then some of what you said was, and you said extensible, flexible, all those things are great, but we could still be like in the secret patented world of that vendor, and so when you added the idea of openness to your take on it and part of what your kind of design requirements are, my reaction to Carolyn was like, I love this guy. I don't know much else, but like you stated a complete, coherent, correct set of design requirements for what we would need to apply governance at a more of a global scale potential as we transition, like all of us, to a digital footing, all of our institutions. So don't forget that one is all I'm saying. Like carry forward in your summary all of your good stuff, please.
Yeah, absolutely. No, because of the very nature of the public blockchain, and especially the very nature of Ethereum itself, all the governance actions, rules, sets, constitutions, all of the existing contractual sort of law and structure is all done out in the open. So it's all completely transparent. And this is like enormously appealing to things like nonprofits and governments that actually want to behave on the blockchain ecosystem, but do it in a completely transparent way. So transparency is sort of it's sort of a part of the nature of Boardroom and part of the nature of Ethereum itself. And sort of approaching some other concepts there, just to touch on it, is a lot of people have come up to me and said, well, there's a lot of governance that's done in private. There's a lot of sort of backroom chatter. There's a lot of sort of corporate governance that's completely done, in private. And so my response to them is that I'm sort of hedging my bets on that. In 10, 20, even 30 years from now, you may not invest in a company if their governance and governance behaviors are not being put out in the open for investors to see. Because if you're not willing to stake your sort of decision making in the public space, then basically you're saying, I'm going to be a complete black box company organization, and I'm hiding behind this sort of idea that it's more strategic to hide these decisions. And while that may not be completely appropriate for every type of company, there's going to be a lot of companies that will want to just they want to behave in a sort of open and transparent way. So they'll be attracted to this, and I think investors will be attracted to it too, because they'll be able to see how the quality of decision making that's being made through time by that organization. So I think there's a lot of interesting benefits and a lot of interesting sort of cons potentially, but overall, yeah, transparency is a critical aspect of boardroom. So just to sort of step into a little more of the UI, I think I can jump into that. I mean, I can also touch on real quick as well, sort of the way jurisdictional regulation could play into this sort of stuff, but I don't know what MIT would like. I mean, I could touch on it.
Let me just do so I don't know what MIT would like either, but I think what we would probably prefer, like, tightly closed, cloak and dagger backroom decision making, how to expropriate my IP. But what I would like is that we would find out who would care here about, actually, I think MIT would like everything you're saying, honestly. But what matters now is who has a project and who can hack it. So does anyone doing any governance-ishy thing, does this tickle the fancy of anybody online? Oh, Brendan. Great.
Yeah, I don't have one in my head.
Yeah. In what aspect? Oh, okay, so that doesn't help us. Okay, so I think basically from the people that I've heard hacking of all the directions you said that would be useful, one would be maybe applying to context. So you just said at a super high level, full transparency may not be appropriate for all. For a publicly traded company and like a noticed shareholder meeting, it may be required, and, with disclosures and everything. But with for an election in the public sector, it may be required. But for other things, it may be prohibited. Actually, you're doing like I don't know, like a hiring decision or a union thing. Everyone's voting, but it's like, well, we're not going to tell management what we're voting on before the negotiation. And so so what I would find interesting would be if you could speak a little bit to some contexts and then show us the demos, or just rocked out one or two of your happy place, cozy. Like the place where you're like, yeah, like what I had in mind is it's going to work for town election, or what I had in mind is it's going to be shareholder or whatever your thing is. Like the farmer's market is like a natural use case. Like I want to hear your strong use cases, so we can at least have a couple of contextual anchor points to then understand your demo better, please.
So I think there's a lot of interesting use cases that would happen pretty quickly with Ethereum-based companies. So there's a lot of talk of basically raising capital, converting that capital, the amounts raised on a capital raise into equity shares, and then having a transparent governance structure help delegate the funds and help manage those funds. So I mean, that's a technical thing to say, but essentially, if I had a coffee shop down on the, if I had a coffee shop that basically wanted to raise some money on Ethereum, they could do that by doing a crowdfund. I think someone should go back to. I think it's good to go on mute. Who's not on mute? You could do a crowdfund on Ethereum, convert that into tokens, and then essentially start a governance board and base the voting on those tokens. So that's an immediate sort of thing. And then now this coffee shop, has shareholders. Now they have a governance structure. Now they have a complex sort of governance system that they can manage those funds with. Basically, this gives the ability of kind of amazingly complex governance to almost any business owner, almost any person or any group that wants a complex governance structure. And it's done in a very sort of elegant and simple way. So, when it comes to raising funds and then having governance there and then allocating those funds, this is a really big use case. I'd say charities are a big use case. If they raise funds, they would want they'd want transparency in the governance and allocation of those funds. And this is a big problem in the nonprofit space. Basically, a lot of donors are very concerned about how funds are being allocated and where they're being allocated. And we're working with a lot of charities right now to basically kind of connect the dots with this and say that, okay, if they did their governance on Ethereum in this sort of transparent space, their donors could see, okay, this is where the money's going, and governance can be performed in a sort of productive way, and funds can be allocated properly. So nonprofits are another one. Yep.
And so far, just the category I would put most of what you're saying under is decision-making, deliberation, decision-making around allocation of resources. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And you know what the best
And I think
definition of governance I've ever heard is governance is a method of resource allocation. I know that sort of leaves some things out, but it pretty much works every time anyone's paying me to do a thing, like if I'm doing consulting on a thing or making a thing. That's actually a pretty good shorthand. And so if someone's telling me about a governance thing that doesn't allocate scarce resources, or people have a different opinion about that, it doesn't work. So, okay, thank you for explaining those use cases. And so participatory budgeting too, like in a city, obviously, I guess would be a good one.
Yep. Yep. And then there's a lot of really crazy use cases, you know, using prediction markets and various other sort of technical structures on Ethereum to perform governance in various different ways to break things like tyranny of the majority, which is a common problem in democracy. So there's also really sort of crazy things that we can use to break these sort of hard concepts of traditional governance structures. So we're also looking at those. We haven't really weighed the economics yet of them, but I think that if you put the governance in this sort of complex system where it can grow and change through time with a sort of unified identity, then you can really build interesting governance structures that address normal problems of governance that we've had forever, for ages. So it could potentially really improve the way human beings kind of do this sort of thinking and collaborative decision making over time. But currently, the practical use cases are, yeah, resource allocation and performing sort of basic tasks on Ethereum itself. So just, you know, registering names, buying shares, all of these things can be done through the governance sort of gateway. And Boardroom allows just a nice system and structure to build that organization. But on the back end, it doesn't commit to any one specific thing either. So it's very open and ready to be built upon, versus me saying, like, okay, well, this is the way voting is going to be done. This is the way everything's got to be done. The core contract that links everything together is actually very, very, very simple. So in any case, I'll move on to just a quick sort of demo, and then if there's any more questions, we can just, you know, take those up as we go. So let me just see if everyone can see my screen, if that's good. Okay, yeah, looks good. So if we're all good and everyone's seeing it, yep, I think so. Okay, great. So basically, what you're looking at here is the very sort of alpha user interface for Boardroom. So it's right now, as I said, it's very simple, it's very rudimentary, but it gets right at the points of what boards are and what this kind of governance is. So right here you can see some boards on the left-hand side. They're currently not named. I haven't really gotten that far just yet, but essentially there's members, subcommittees, proposals. This is just some metrics here. And with the default Boardroom structure, so basically what I've done is I've said, okay, yeah, governance could be anything. You could have a tyranny, you could have a democracy, but what I've decided is, okay, there's a certain sort of default set of things that a board should need to do sort of common governance, common corporate governance or common sort of nonprofit governance. So I've built a sort of default governance structure, default Boardroom. So what you're looking at here is the default. It's not required, it's not necessary, but this is where we're developing toward to meet our own needs. So in this sort of default structure, I have a chair position and I have an executive position. So the chair position splits an even vote. The executive position basically is required to sign off on specific organizational changes. So you could imagine that there's certain things like fund allocation or constitutional changes where you really want a trusted third party or someone to just make sure they sign off on these things and they don't vote against them. So that's what this is, and that's really because we don't really have tools to address things like tyranny of the majority, where if you did a fund raise and then that into governance, you could have a 60% shareholder essentially take over the funds and withdraw them all. So an executive is really good at that. It's basically like the role of the treasurer or something like that. So basically, these are the sort of basic metrics. Members have to register with the board. So essentially, I've set up a basic registry. That's another thing Ethereum's very, very good at, is doing registries. So essentially, if you are a member of the board, you can register with it. And membership in the default boardroom structure is actually defined by holding equity shares. And Ethereum is also really good at doing things like what we call token systems. And token systems it's a really bad name. Token is a really awful word. It comes with a lot of bad metaphysical baggage. But essentially, token systems are just ledgers that hold accounts and values. So you could have equity structures set up and then base your membership on that. And this is just a registry of those members. So then you have stuff about the executive, no subcommittees. Here you can see a little more about equity, how many shares I'm holding, and just a calendar. And then most importantly, the actual proposals themselves. So right here, I'm sure there'll be a few typos too, because I'm just the worst speller sometimes, especially when I'm coding. But essentially here you're seeing the proposal interface. So boards have all these sort of features, but proposals is really it's the biggest feature of all. It's the most important one that allows governance to happen basically in any case. So what you're seeing here is a proposal to amend the constitution of the board and add a vice chair position. So you're just seeing sort of some stuff about what this action will do. This proposal has been won because I voted on it, so you can execute that proposal. And just some basic metrics here of what this proposal is. And this is all sort of complex data and gas costs and estimates, and as well disclaimers. So basically, some interesting points here before I go any further. With Boardroom, you can do all this governance, you can table proposals and so on, but I ran into a problem early on, which is what if you just have board members who are constantly trying to cheat each other all the time? And the way that they could do that is if they don't state the intention of what the proposal is going to do. So like you could have someone who's just clever and they put one piece of code in and then they say it's going to do another. So to prevent that, what I've done is I've made the proposals strictly typed. So this is sort of stuff that you'll realize with Ethereum too, is that everything is a cheatable scheme. Every contract should be really vetted properly, just like in law, because you always have to make sure that people so that cheating on other people or deceiving them is sort of impossible. And in Boardroom, you basically state the intention of the proposals before you table them, and this allows you to build sort of complex structures around the proposals and verify that those structures are going to do what they're actually going to do. So it's all part of this sort of idea that if you're going to table a proposal to do one thing, it better do that one thing, and the user interface should definitely accommodate that sort of behavior. So and the interface to table proposals is right here. So you can see I have only two options: standard transactions and constitutional amendments. There's a lot more stuff, obviously, we can do. I just have these two inserted. But with a constitutional amendment, you're basically amending the board's core constitution. And the Constitution is really interesting because all it is a articled list of contracts. And I've basically just given the core board, I've just said, okay, look at this contract as your main sort of changer or constitutional. How would I explain this? basically one contract is going to be the active changing contract that can change the board's constitution and release funds, and then everything else is sort of out in the open. So anyway, with all of this stuff that you're seeing here, all of this will allow you to perform any type of sort of governance structure you can possibly think of, whether that be a totalitarian state where the executive signs off on everything, but maybe you have a false government tabling proposals, or you could have a democracy where everyone gets a fair vote, everyone gets one share in the voting process, or you could have sort of equity-based voting, which is common in corporate governance, or you could have enormously complex governance systems where certain boards are stepping in and voting on other boards' proposals. And so really, it's all a completely open topic or open system. The idea here is that create a good foundation, and then from there you can build sort of any governance structure you want. And hopefully this solidifies the projects in Ethereum a little more, because a lot of projects for Ethereum, including some of my own, I want to be able to raise funds and then have a governance utility there to put the funds in, and then say, okay, these are only releasable by the shareholders. These are only releasable by these decision makers, for example. So it's very, very critical that we have a good, solid governance structure that can do this. And what makes mine different from others or standard contract governance structures that you may have seen around on Ethereum is that mine can change its own governance structure over time and still maintain its identity, which contractually is a little more expensive, but in the end, a lot better for your organization, because I'm assuming everything I'm doing coding-wise is going to be wrong in about 5 years. So, and you just want to make sure you have sort of this proxy or center to your governance structure. And I'll explain more about this in a blog post I'm going to write to really kind of give more breadth to the whole thing. But yeah, this is sort of the interface. It's very, very simple, but it kind of gets at the core point. And proposals can do so much. Just to touch on this as well, you can table proposals that could release funds, but you could also table proposals that buy 1,000 equity shares in Apple, then trade them over to a certain address, then send donations to someone in Chile, then address crisis points for nonprofits. You can do almost any sort of contractual behavior with Boardroom through the democratic gateway, and basically all I'm doing is providing a complex governance structure to do that. So in any case, I hope that was not too crazy or complex or weird to understand or anything like that. Yeah, if there's any questions or sort of things I should bring up, just let me know. I can address anything now. But yeah.
Hi, Nick, can you hear me? Folks in the
I can't. I think there's two computers on with. There we go. Yeah. And now I don't know if I can hear you.
Are we on?
Is that better?
Yeah, I think I can hear that now.
All right, well, we're going to have to make do with the echo here. Do we have questions in the room? Okay. All right. Nick, to be candid, I don't know how to use this equipment in this room. It's my first moment ever in this room.
I think it's hard to hear.
I don't think there are any questions, immediate questions.
Okay.
I know you have to get out soon.
Yeah, I think something's feeding back there, yeah. But okay, if there's no other questions, yeah, I mean, I think I've pretty much touched on everything at this point. I think if you're going to sort of launch in any sort of governance hackathon projects, I think a big point would be just make sure that you meet sort of the demand of your needs. Like, one problem I ran into was I built something that was enormously generalized, so this was hard to sort of narrow down demands, which is why I had to build defaults. So I guess just stay true to the demand of what you're hacking or what you're building. But in any case, that's a sort of broad point. But anyway, lesson learned. Yeah.
But then we're going to get an echo.
Okay. Well, why don't I speak? Why don't I turn this off? Yeah. All right. Can anyone hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Can you speak through? Does it work through yours? Let me speak through yours.
Oh, no, they can hear you online.
You can hear me? Oh, okay, good. All right. Look, this is the second time I heard Nick's presentation. The first time was at Consensus in Brooklyn. I was scared to death the first time I heard it, because as a law professor, my goal is to make sure I create lawyers who have jobs going forward. And I thought so much of what Nick was doing was completely disruptive to the legal profession, creating an alternative to lawyers' function in creation of contracts, creation of boardrooms, creation of corporate governance structure, etc. The more I hear it, the more I realize it's inevitable and we should be embracing it. Yeah, is that right?
Well, I think it's also clear that what's going to happen is that there's going to be an emergence in a new form of law, either computational law or emergent law, which deals with basically contracts that emerge, new forms of contracts that we haven't seen. You're not going to be out of a job. It's just going to be.
So what do you imagine the function of the lawyer in this process is?
To really figure out how to map the new forms of contractual arrangements that arise into the governance of people. I mean, there's going to be a whole new genre of complexity of mapping software to organizations and people, and you can't see that.
And Nick, do you have anything to add to that? What do you see the role of lawyers in a world that's boardroom enabled?
So I think I mean I see a huge importance actually for like that you're going to need lawyers to interpret the contracts that are being written that underline both your governance structure and what the governance structure is interacting with on a constant basis. So, for example, if I table a proposal to interact with a complex contractual system, I'm going to want, as a board member, but also as an organization, lawyers to step in and analyze that contract and see what it means to agree to that contract through my board, and essentially vet what that is. So I see a large role actually for looking at these sort of digital contracts, figuring out what they're going to do, how they're going to behave, even if it's so important to deploying your own versions of them just to attempt a simulation, and figuring out if they actually do what they're going to do. I think this is going to be a huge new field in law. I think there'll be a lot of existing work in law that will probably be either replaced or just eradicated. But then there'll be, I think, a whole new area of law where you'll have lawyers stepping in on a constant basis and just making sure that contracts do what they say they do. If you want to amend the governance structure, that you have that stuff vetted. My utility solves a lot of these issues already because I'm providing defaults for everything. And so long as you state the intention of a proposal and you post the data of that proposal, it's all verifiable cryptographically, and it's all verifiable given the user interface. So a lot of it's done sort of already in that way, but there's going to be more complex structures that I can't validate or that that my user interface won't be able to figure out, and that's where you're going to need lawyers to step in, analyze this stuff for the board to make sure that they're covered on their end. So just as lawyers do now, but it'll just be a much more fluent and nice system because when you table that proposal, it's executed, it's cleared, it's actually cleared. It goes right from governance right into the end result. There's no accountants, there's no necessarily lawyers in between, there's nothing in between. Half of existing corporate structures are not needed if you go right from the proposal to the actual clearing. So, so this is one of the massive sort of benefits on an efficiency level with Boardroom. But anyway, I can ramble on about it. But essentially, yeah, I think there will be a role for lawyers for sure.
Yeah, I think what will happen is that
the lawyer certainly will have a job. It's just going to be a job that is much more complex and will match the complex systems that they work.
Yeah, the routine skills are now being done automatically. Yeah. So this is the subtle, sophisticated, nuanced analysis that works.
Just as we see in biology that biologists are not independent of computer scientists, biologists and computer scientists are actually the same profession now. We will see that with law.
Do folks learn stuff? I mean, are there skills and tools that you've learned from Nick that you think can be part of the project? This is your chance to pick his brains if there was anything that might be helpful to you with the project.
Great work.
So some of the projects in the room don't necessarily require blockchain, I think, to be fully implemented. Blockchain. This is clearly one that seems to require blockchain Ethereum. Backing it up. All right, thanks, Nick. You're welcome to linger or peel away as you choose.
All right. I think I have to run, but yeah, this was great. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. See you in Brooklyn.
All right, cool.
All right, good. So Roman, why don't we hand it off to you? I think Roman can speak through his computer.
Yep, he's all
Let's
set
see how
up.
it works. Speak up and let's see. Thumbs up from people out there if you can hear Roman.
I can say something. Yeah, I'm just. Also, what?
We just finished Nick.
Yeah, we just.
So thumbs up, though. Everyone's got it on line. If anyone out there can see us, put on your. Let us know that you can hear by putting a thumbs up.
Yeah, it looks like it works.
All right.
Why don't you start by getting a microphone?
Should I?
Because the microphone is screwing it all up. It gives us all sorts of trouble feedback.
Okay, I'll set you up.
No, let's not use the headset. I think he's probably fine.
Sure. Hey. Oh, I see what's going on. Yep. Okay, that's fine. So
Yeah, you
do
can
this,
hear me.
Can you do this?
We did it without it.
All right.
I think it's working fine.
Okay, looks like it's working fine. So I say present. I'm going to go back to my first answer.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so hello everybody. It's great to join from this MIT spaceship cockpit. It looks very nice. So let me share my presentation. Oh, it's not ready. Yeah, okay.
You're good. Clean signal, clear path. Launch.
Good. So
You're great.
yeah, so I do want to start with a little bit far away from technology, and as I entered the room, like David asked, what is this blockchains? What are the core values of the blockchains? And I want to touch this a little bit because we have already some history. It started with Bitcoin, and I do want to walk through the steps which lead us from Bitcoin through a couple of other interesting cryptocurrencies through the idea of Ethereum and how we apply this today. So what is this all about? Why this Bitcoin is so innovative and important? So it lies on three values, on three basic values. And the first one is transparency. There was no such transparent system, definitely not in the finance world, as the Bitcoin. It's completely on the table. All the information is on the table. Like in any other system, you can ask where the servers are, who is the database administrator, who has the authority to change things, who owns the license, whatever. And in Bitcoin, you just don't have nothing on this. Everything is transparent. So this is the first one. The second one is the irreversibility. What does it mean? Basically, it means when the rules are set, you cannot change them. And I think this also something that didn't exist before Bitcoin, because any other system, you have somebody has the control. somebody can alter the rules after the game started.
Sure.
No, I feel good. Thanks. Like I can dance or something. Yeah, I have the energy. So yeah. So why is it important? It's important because of this. We have seen 2014 Greece banks changing the rules, right? Suddenly saying to their customers that their money is not there yet, or they are there but you cannot touch them for some time. It was year before in Cyprus. And we are seeing this kind of system under somebody's control, that the rules can be altered even if the lawyer says, hey, it's not legal because you're in a different country, and suddenly it's a big problem. So in Bitcoin, it's not like this. If somebody says that you have, if certain amount of coins decided to be all the life of the blockchain, this is it. You cannot change the rules. And the third one, maybe the most important one, is the independence. If you want to move your coins, you can do it. You can be stopped only physically. Only somebody can stop you by holding your hand. And the other way, you don't need to ask permission from anybody, because your transaction is approved by the math and not by the system, not by the network, not by the administrator. So these are three core values of the Bitcoin, which are provided by Satoshi Nakamoto, this mythical person. And the interesting point is that today, that finance institution chasing the understanding of blockchain and inviting us as startups into their labs and asking us, okay, guys, teach us about blockchain because we are so curious about these innovative ideas in the finance world. And we saying, okay, so this is transparent, irreversible, and independence. They say, okay, this is cool, but can you make a blockchains for us which are going to be adaptable, controlled, and also obfuscated, because this is the way we operate. And I think if you are talking about you guys that practice in law or trying to understand where it's all going, you need to understand this point, because it's not all about technology. It's mostly about big organization trying to adapt to something very new and to adapt their business, and it's not always working. It's sometimes like to find dry water or something, right? Or cold ice, hot ice. Okay, so talking about the values. In Bitcoin world, we are talking about one value, one actual data value. I'm talking now about data value, which is the balance of the person, right? So we are talking about moving a certain amount of Bitcoins from one account to another account, and all these three values that I stated are applied only to this one, only to that one. In Ethereum, it's going to be applied to anything, any number of values. So we can say we have data value that represents equity. We can say the data value can represent what number, idea of a decision, document, signature, whatever. And from here, I will jump into some screencast of one of our tools, which is an IDE for developers, for basically to show you how all these three values can be applied to implementation of a multi-signature wallet, which is very common example already, but in Ethereum it looks more interesting than in other places. Okay. Is everybody going to see it like this? Look a little bit small. Huh? I think this is the biggest.
What about your browser window?
Should I? Let me try to make it bigger. Full screen or something, right?
Yeah, it'll just zoom up the text.
No.
We can't see the window, we can see the text.
No, it doesn't help. It's a video. It's a video. Do we have some solution for videos?
Video doesn't scroll.
Yeah.
I thought it was a live screen, right?
No.
The video will be showing. Not secret part.
Screen's not large enough. The resolution's not large.
Yeah, I'm trying to show the video, and this is how it looks like. I don't see that.
So my recommendations for this, just keep rocking through. It's an endemic problem with Hangouts and with our technology right now. And then let us make available a proper demo that we can post-produce with you.
You can post it, yeah.
Yeah. So then we'll just let everyone know that we'll get a link to them of like the full-size video that they can follow along with later at home. You can do this on your own at home later. Not dangerous. Right now, just kind of get a vibration for it. And I apologize for the limitations of this Google Hangout. Let us continue.
Yeah. Let me try to connect from the YouTube this video because it's also public. Maybe it will be better.
Yeah. This is the same thing that happened when you and I first spoke, where it's like, geez, I can't see on the screen what's going on here.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a startup here. Like, who can do a magnifying glass on it? Like, that's supported in HTML Canvas like native now with like a little magic on export. Oh, here we go.
I'm watching.
That's sort of like, do you want a cherry on top? I think I still can't totally understand what it is. I recommend you rock on through, man. Rock on through.
Yeah. I'm coming to this.
I also have a great project for you. So, by the way, I'll just take this opportunity to say the reason why it is that we ask all speakers to do their presentations in advance by video is because it's not unique. Roman is overqualified for this, and like Roman's got a brilliant IDE that he's done. Roman's a great technologist. None of us are immune. Nobody, no mortal can withstand the entropy of live demo. So we always want to stress, get your demos to me in advance by video, and then we roll the video and people see it before we start the discussion, and then all we do is the luscious richness of live dialogue with Roman about the nuances of ideas and how do I apply this library. So in the future, this isn't you, not a single person has done it. I'm not singling you out, Roman. What I do want to do is I want to highlight, like, I'd rather be hearing you talk now, and it's because our technology is not up to what we want to put it to. Live demo technology never works, and Media Lab knows that as well as anybody, and so it's dangerous. So in the future, where's Carolyn? In the future, like, let's just make it our #1 job that, like, we wrangle, we harass, we harangue, we stomp, and we get the videos of the demos before people speak, or maybe the rules in the future, you're not speaking if we didn't get it in advance, you know? Yeah. Okay, all done. Let's move forward now, though.
Okay, thanks for the drama.
That's the drama, yeah.
Okay, so I will show you, after we discuss the core values of the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency, and we are trying to check them in the Ethereum world now. So let me go through very, very simple example of implementation of the multi-signature wallet, which is basically can be also seen as a partnership between a couple of members, which is a multi-signature, and to show how it looks like into our IDE development tool for developers. So in this tool, basically, first what you have is accounts, which are core part of the blockchain. Yeah. So each one has an account which holds some balance of money, of Ether in this case. And you basically predefine into your file, you predefine which account are going to take part of your debug of your software. Later, you can see the code of the multisig. It's 500 lines of code. I will not go through all of them, but we will try to invoke it in a minute, just the core parts of it. You can see the syntax. It says, okay, this is a wallet. It's a multisig, it's multi-on, and they limit. It's sort of object-oriented in computer science. All you need to make this wallet to behave in a certain way is just to declare it there this way. So the idea has a sandbox of Ethereum embedded inside the tool. So to run this, all I need is to hit the button. And now the contract that has some value to be initiated, it asks me who are the owners of this wallet, and I just put in an array of 4 addresses, right? And then I should specify how many signatures I want to approve a transaction. So I will put 3 in this way, and I will set some day limit. A day limit basically says if I get less than a limit, I can have the transaction right away. But if it's more than the limit, the multi-signature algorithmics is taking the place, so you need to approve it with more than one account. And then I submit this, and I just deployed my first contract to my personal blockchain, and I see it right away on the blockchain. So you see account that says, okay, this is the wallet, and those addresses are the owners of the wallet.
That's so cool.
Thank you. And the balance of the wallet is now 0, so it controls no money. So let's put some money in it. And for that, you just initiate a transaction, a simple value transaction that transfer either from one account to another account. Let's put
Shove it in the USB slot?
I have a lot of associations with this, but I will shut up about them. Okay, not appropriate for okay.
Freedom of speech.
not quite. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So yeah. So we just put a 1 billion weight with the minimal denominator of Ethereum.
That would be like pennies in Ethereum or something.
Yeah. It's like that. Yeah. It's cents. And now this account basically controls this money. And let's try to execute some transaction for real. And here is the dialog that represents all the options of the smart contract. You basically can invoke any of them if you want to check how it's been executed and you want to check the algorithmics of this smart contract. Right?
Oh, could you follow up? Great. Yeah. I think this is what we should be teaching next semester.
Oh,
on contracts, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, having an IDE for the law is another facet of this. Please continue. Sorry.
Okay, sounds good. Execute. We have one central method here, execute, which is who is the address, what value I want to move to the address, and data is obsolete, so it's not interesting. So I just asking this wallet to move 1 million way to some certain account that does not exist yet, right? And I execute that transaction. Here I have another option. I can specify who is the sender in this particular case, because I can execute with any sender on this use case. So let's put one of them and let's call the transaction. Boom. So what just happened? The wallet got the transaction on the blockchain, but the money didn't move. You can see the balance stayed the same. What we have is the pending transaction. It basically says this is account, this is the asking balance to move, and this is the ID for the pending transaction. So what the wallet is waiting for is to do another signatures, right? Because it's 3 out of 4, and now it's asking for more signatures. And we will take this ID for the pending transaction. We have the confirm method. We will put the transaction ID here. We will invoke this with other owner of the wallet. Second call, and now another call, the third one. Okay. So now, after 3 requests for moving the balance was submitted, the wallet released this money and proceed this transaction for real. And we can see that the balance of Ether is now out of the one control and in control of other account. Okay. So, and all the transactions that we executed are just recorded for us, and we can see what was the transaction and who executed these transactions. Also part of the functionality of the IDE. Right? I just want to remind you that we are talking about 3 core values: the transparency, reversibility, and independence. So they're applied to this smart wallet to all this inside the wallet, right? Like pending transaction, how much signatures I need, what is the day limit, who are the owners. All these data members are actually representing the core values of cryptocurrency, as in Bitcoin, the balance represented as well, but here taken to the high level of any kind of source code. Okay, so the last part of the presentation is just how I can send the contract, the smart contract, to the real network after I tested it and debugged this. And it's very, very simple procedure. You already have the estimation of the cost of this transaction, and then you just sign it of your account on the real network, and then just send it to the real network. And you have now the pending state, but the miner will pick it up very fast, and the pending state will switch into the mined. And once that happened, you can click and see the contract, which is the multisig, on the real network. And this is also our tool, which called the Smart Explorer, that show you all the values, all the data values of any smart contract, transparency, as we stated it before. We can see it through our Smart Explorer on the real network. So this was very, very small screencast just to show you how the values of the Bitcoin can be taken to the level of a more sophisticated source code of Ethereum. Okay?
Yeah.
I hope it helps to understand a little bit more about what Ethereum is.
Go click the middle
Screen share.
screen, and then click that guy.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
So
Okay,
I followed along on
I didn't
YouTube,
finish, but if you any question, I can answer now.
and the video's on YouTube.
Yeah, it is there.
So if you all want to find it, I just sort of punched
can
in
pause
some
it, pause it.
keywords, Ether, Camp, IDE, Wallet. And I got
Yeah, it works. You can have more than one example.
Dynamite. So I'm going to use I'm going to buddy up on your mic if I may.
Yeah.
So thank you, first of all. That was extraordinary. It was similar to what I remember when Carolyn said that we could just see if we had a match here, and you kind of ran me through some demos and we talked about it. So I think it's great. And you don't get much done without IDEs, honestly, for most people. You can't hack like Brendan down at bare metal. And so we need an IDE for the law. Potentially, but when we have an ID for the law, it'll be reasonable to have computable law. It's not really reasonable to have it now. It's like, you compute what? You're going to stuff up like a parchment or a Microsoft Word document into R? I don't think so. So I would like to say that I think I've identified 2 or 3 projects in this January session that would be natural fits for use of your IDE. And since you're here and you very graciously traveled here to hack with us and to present to us,
Pleasure to be.
I'm glad to have you. I'd like to pair you up with a couple of projects, and one of them is with a student that we haven't heard from yet, but I just want you to kind of see her face and her name, and it's revolutionizing hotels and blockchains. And you haven't been to the other classes. I think you're just back now. But could you just say what's your name, and do you mind coming into our TV studio, which is like this 2-foot square?
Okay, so my name is Natasha. I'm from Toronto, Canada. Originally, I'm from Moscow, Russia, and I've basically worked 20 years in the hotel industry and restaurant industry. And my idea is to, well, as you guys know, international travel requires a lot of very convoluted payment process. And a lot of hotel companies have very problematic, I would say, loyalty schemes. So the idea that I have is just basically to use digital currency to for travel. And more specifically, my interest is in Chinese market. A lot of Chinese people are projected to come to other parts of travel outside of China. And I think and a lot of them don't have credit cards, and then they're all used to like Tencent and Alibaba type of payments that come directly out of their bank accounts, and especially young people, that's how they transact today. So the idea is to give them something very, very similar, and complete frictionless transaction with a hotel group. I have a lot of relationship with hotel companies, large, big, small, and independent. Right. Okay. So there's a consortium called roomkey.com. It's not well known. I'd be surprised if any of you know, but do let me know. It's basically like a search engine that hotel companies built, but obviously it's not very popular because nobody knows it. But it's Marriott and Starwood, who actually one bought the other like a couple months ago, and Hilton and Hyatt. So they kind of partnered. They're trying to take some of the market share back from Expedia. But
Huge fees. That won't do.
right.
What they need is a private and a public key, not just a hotel key.
They need to take some of that. Basically, they need to backward integrate and take some of that back. But I don't think they can do it without the payments piece and without connecting to from beginning to the end of the transaction. That's it. That's the thought.
If only we had some way to like almost IDE of some kind to, hey, I have an idea. So I think this would be a natural project. And we went through and started the business model a little bit. And, it's a Sloan project too. So we have a subset of projects that people will be more exposed to shortly from Sloan Fellows. And this is one of them. We kind of got it started in Brooklyn together, thanks to Jonathan Askin in an offsite. And oh, I'm sorry, the best part. What's the name of the project?
Hotel blockchain.
Ta-da! That's funny. And you think about it,
everything.
like,
Yeah.
Hotel blockchain. Okay. So it's good. That's a great name. So thank you. Okay, cool. No, may I ask, is just show of hands online and in the room, anyone else think this is Roman's IDE and or boardroom good fit for project? Just want to know anybody? Brendan? I mean, for a project you want to do?
I'll think about it.
Think about it. Okay, good. So if Brandon's a maybe, he'd be a good yes. Brandon is the reason I'm at the Media Lab, since you haven't heard that yet. We went to college together. He was a grad student here back in the 1850s or whenever it was, and then we and he invited me by, and then he's gone on. I haven't been able to get over it, I guess. So okay.
What does IDE stand for?
Integrated Development Environment. It stands for awesome. So any other questions or comments for Roman?
Yeah.
This wasn't a comment, but I had a comment on the blockchain.
Can you just rock over? And then what we're going to do after your comment on the blockchain is we're going to break into small hacking groups and we'll reconvene.
Oh, by the way, I have more to finish.
Oh, I thought you were done. Okay.
No, just the middle of the.
My bad. Okay.
Can I have like 10 more minutes?
Yeah, 10 minutes would be great.
Want you? No.
Go ahead.
No, we just. I just want to take one question, if you may, or comment.
It was a comment.
Is it
I
like
don't want to interrupt.
a political? Okay, then fine. Thank you, Brandon. And yeah, please finish up, and about 10 minutes should be good, and then we'll break into groups and hacking. And I'd love you at least to look at the hotel one, and and probably you stay here in this room, Roman, and then other groups. I've got rooms where you can talk right around here, and we'll reconvene again before 6. Okay, back to you.
So just to finish wrap around the IDE. People already asking me on this specific, I will not say hackathon, but prototyping jam.
Prototype jam.
Yeah, I studied that one. So people already asked me to provide them IDE to help them to work on this, on their prototype, on their project, and I will happy to do this. You can find me on the Slack channel or the Roman at Either Camp also available. We provide this IDE for e-learning and IT organization already. So it's a commercial tool, but for your event we will give it for free, obviously. I will show you more about EtherCamp, the company that stands behind this IDE, what we are doing, just a couple more projects that are related to the blockchain and especially a particular blockchain of Ethereum. Let me take this.
Right.
Yeah.
Staffing up your project, Roman.
Yeah. So
with the super best.
Yeah. So what EtherCamp is doing, except the IDE, we joined Ethereum from the beginning, and not as a part of the foundation, but as an independent company. But we implemented one part of Ethereum, which is a Java implementation. It can be found on ethereumj.io. block. We're managing this and continue to develop the implementation of
And
Ethereum.
on behalf of all of us that are front-end oriented, thank you again. Like, that's what makes this accessible to many people.
Okay. Second one is our Smart Explorer. It's like Block Explorer in Bitcoin world, and everybody call it a Block Explorer, but it's more around contracts and all the underlying information that is can be took from the network and analyzed. So this is our Smart Explorer. Basically, it provides all the transactions of Ethereum, and the transaction can be very, very sophisticated. Here is a good example of one transaction, which is invocation of a contract, which invokes 12 more internal transactions. And this data is very, very valuable because it can be anything. It can be equity moving, it can be balance moving, it can be a contract invocation underlined. So we provide all this information, and this live.ethercamp is very unique Smart Explorer on the network. And also, we was talking about independence. The best way to move Ether today is through our website. You just sign a transaction online, and we don't know nothing about your private key. The transaction was signed inside the browser and just sent to the network, but it's completely secured. We don't save. You don't need to log in or something. Just there. You can invoke your contract. Yeah, does you want to ask?
Yeah, a very quick one, just because it's an MIT thing. So are you using the crypto in the browser, the new thing kind of W3C got through, or what keys are you using, and how do you key management for the key in the front end?
So there is already JavaScript libraries that are doing cryptography, complete cryptography. JavaScript already evolved to this way.
Yep.
So you can completely do all the mathematics of cryptography inside the browser.
And are you using the stuff that came out of like World Wide Web Consortium in the last couple of years that like Harry Halpin have been working on, that stuff?
Not exactly. We know what you are talking about. Yeah. They're talking about sort of key stores. Yeah. And like your way to store completely secure all your keys inside the browser.
Yeah, exactly what I'm talking about.
We are preparing to connect all this stuff to our work also.
Okay.
It will go naturally.
Okay.
For now, we just provide this very convenient way to do your transaction. I use it all the time.
Cool. So one of the things we might do while you're here, and then I'll end this, but so I don't forget, is maybe walk you over to CSAIL and the people in W3C that are responsible for the crypto in the browser, right around, like this is what we talk about a lot.
Yeah,
it was a major
move to live here.
Because like what you're trying to do in the front end has to be done, and we have to have security on the we have to ruggedize a real crypto module in the browser, and so like they fought hard. It's international standards support in every browser, and it was waiting for people exactly like you who are doing exactly what you're doing. So let's just connect those dots while you're here.
Yeah, it's like with the credit card. It's already working for the credit cards, right? So you have the you have the credit card saved inside your browser, but the information cannot be used until you actually put your 3 digits, and then it's encrypted.
Okay, I didn't know that was using this.
Yeah. Basically, same stuff. Yeah, before this technology was applied, you was not allowed to save the credit card inside the browser.
2 years ago.
Right. So if you want to check it, it's live.ether.camp, and all the live project that's going to come out of this prototype in Gem can be watched on this browser. Last one, the hack EtherCamp. So this is very interesting and very interesting history, very dramatic around this website. Basically, it's a smart community. What does it mean, a smart community? It's not started as a smart community. It started as a marketing website for our IDE. We just said, hey, we have a web IDE. So what we are going to do is this. We are going to do an online hackathon. Let's put some teams together, invite them to hack, put some reward for them, and make it online. So yeah, and 33 teams show up, and we had this big hackathon event online. And you know this team? Does you actually know these guys?
Well, yeah, this is a trend that Sandy Campbell likes, and we're doing, when we're doing stuff with distributed governance and open, like we're pushing quadratic voting now, and if there's something that's working on your thing, the stuff we're doing, I just want to highlight it to people.
Right, cool. So this was very interesting hackathon. It was 5 days. What you can see on this website, you can just online see the people hacking.
That's cool.
This link is the ID of this private team sitting on this ID doing the source code.
So what do you see, like screen sharing or what?
Yeah, the same idea as you seen just a minute ago on the video.
I'll be dipped.
You just going there, and because you are not authorized, you just see it in read-only mode, but they actually are able to change the code, and you can see it all the way. And basically, this activity.
Like Firebase for that, or like how do you do that?
No, this ID is completely web-based ID.
So you're painting into the canvas somehow?
No,
okay,
it's not the
back to that later,
Yeah,
but like,
okay,
that's
okay.
hard as I understood it.
Okay, cool. So this is the activity. This is the activity of the coding inside. We also track it for you. This voting is on the blockchain. So you basically need to sign. Yeah, you basically sign the transaction. When I click here, I can later show it. You sign the transaction, and you have a smart contract actually managing. If you need to, yeah.
So that vote in this case, it's like of all the projects in the hackathon, like give me a point for the ones that you think are like best or something, and that's what the heart scores are.
We have two types of votes. We had a judges who had number of votes to give, and we had a general audience who had less votes to give, and all of them could make the transaction on this voting, and it can be traceable, so you cannot cheat.
So you had a validatable decrementing vote bucket. Okay,
Right.
And then there was allocation, prioritization through that. That's what the okay, I got you.
Yeah,
That's
the winner was decided by this vote.
How hard would it be to integrate, like, say, 3 columns of votes? Like one vote, like exactly the way you did it seems great, is like for how innovative is this? Another vote is for how valuable is this? Another vote is for how quickly can you get it up and running, for example.
Right.
How hard would it be to do that? So you have 3 dimensions, basically.
Yeah, well, this is an interesting project that can be done. I'm not saying it's quite hard, but yeah, it's doable. It's doable.
Okay, just curious. All right, let's keep that in the back of our heads.
Yeah, so this website, which started as a marketing site for the web IDE, and then turned into online hackathon, we are going already in this summer, we are going to have more than 200 teams join to this event, and we are going to call it a virtual accelerator, because we already seen investors going to watch this event and pick their favorites, and maybe to put some money and make a real project out of this hackathon event. So this is the smart community we are developing. This is our blockchain oriented product for developers, and we are going to put interesting stuff here. So this is like the brief introduction for this.
Okay, 3 quick questions. So Jonathan Askin invented legal hackathons. Did you know that?
Is there an illegal hackathon?
All
of them? Yeah,
Right.
maybe.
All the ones he didn't invent.
It's not
this
convenient.
legal?
There's only 2 kinds of hackathons in this world. Legal and illegal.
I want the illegal, yeah. okay. So what was the question?
And so he and I have been collaborating on online hackathons for some years, hooking them together in different ways, and this is an interesting platform.
Right.
So in that context, as we're always talent scouting and seeing, like, is there another thing we could use or adopt or augment?
We should discuss
With that in mind,
it.
I'd like to discuss it. One question would be, what are the aspects of this where the hashes are on the blockchain? So I heard that each vote is hashed in blockchain.
Right.
What else is? And then
if you buy a beer for somebody, so you actually sign a transaction, you move Ether to the account.
Okay, that was like last night. We went out.
So the question is, what's the rate of the movement? I mean, beer, but that would accelerate the rate, right?
The rate.
Yeah, so the rate of the
flow.
movement changes. If you're trading beer, it's going to go much faster.
Yeah, because people are drunk. So the other question though is, like, what do you have? What do you have for? I'm a lightweight, so go one beer. So what do you have when you are in the workspace and they're coding? Is it basically like peer book? Is it just them in like coding on a text document, or have you segmented it out in different ways where they can do like chat over here and like code over there, and can you just show us the workspace?
Yeah, the workspace is exactly the idea.
Let's see it again.
This one.
Okay, because I'm thinking now also about legal hackathons where we usually have like 3 or 4 documents going. We're hacking code, but it's like the statute and the reg and the enabling things and the notice.
Right. So
okay.
So the idea is you just get a view of real hackathon guys hacking in the real live mode.
Yeah.
And you can just watch them doing the code.
Great. Okay.
And
the third.
And after they finish, and they just publish a link to their work, and everybody also can see it.
Thank you.
It's that one, right?
Okay, it makes perfect sense. Like it's just the ID, and okay, I just want to hear that.
Yeah.
And then the third question was, it's a good ID too. Like I use a clip sometimes and some other stuff, which I don't stick with them. This one I want to try.
Okay.
So the other thing though is there any integration back to GitHub? So like if people wanted to have like the authoritative copy of the code there and kind of version it there, how would that integration work?
Yeah, so one of the features of the IDE is the command line mode. So you can basically invoke any Git option.
So you can just kind of turn this, give a deploy key here or like something, and then just integrate it.
Yeah.
So that everything here basically became a commit to Git or vice versa?
Yeah, so I use Git from the command line.
Yeah.
So it's more than enough for me.
Yep.
And we can show you to you how it works. Just to commit the code into the repository or pull it from the repository. It's very easy.
Yeah, I think at some point that would be good. So with Jonathan, I think we should investigate using this for legal hackathons, and then we'd have to dumb it down considerably for lawyers, but I think we could because it has all the guts, and we'd have to skin it basically and do some other stuff. But this is great. I love this. I'm sorry, is this secret and private and proprietary, or is this like open source, this online hackathon one?
Well, it's for open source.
Yeah.
We're currently developing the platform for the next event. The first event was quite interesting, it was 5 days. The next event is going to be 1 month in the summer, and we're actually inviting, I just came from Shanghai, I was there on hackathon, we just invited all the Chinese people to take part in this event. Last time we had one team from China, and that basically first time I met them, it was on my first trip to Shanghai. I just met them, and we now know some developers that are going to join us on the summer. We are also talking. Maybe we will talk with guys here. We are talking with all the community that we know in the blockchain space. And more students from the universities. This is why we're doing this in summer.
Yeah.
And we want to set a huge reward. We basically want people to start a real project and continue with the real project.
Cool. Okay, that's good. So thank you. Is that it?
So this one, the last one. This one, the last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
how do you get the participants?
How? Okay. So for now, before we started the official registration, you can just go there and join our Slack. You have the invitation.
Yeah, I mean, you got a large number of participants, more than a lot of hacks I've seen.
Yeah, it was 33 teams.
All around the world.
All around the world. I was not sleeping for 5 days because it was in all time zones.
Oh, this is the Shanghai one you came from, or one before?
No, it was in December. It was beginning of December.
Okay.
1 to 5. We just our marketing was the winter is coming because it was the first day of winter. So for now, if you want to stay connected, you can click on our Slack and just join our Slack channel.
Great.
And then stay connected with us. And we have already more than 300 people there. Part of them was on the hackathon. So this is it.
Okay. So let me, before we do a round of applause, any questions or comments for Roman, and including those of you online? Anyone in the room?
Yeah, I have.
You want to make your speech? Okay, great. So that was a loaded question. So in that case,
you had the comment before. You told us.
I know, but now I've chilled open dialogue because it's time to hack. So let's just thank Roman for awesomeness. Thanks for coming from Shanghai to present and to hack with us. I think, Carolyn, what I'd like to suggest, although in some ways it's horrible, I think it's our best bet, is to keep this line open, not force people to discover another hangout, and then let's come up. I think we should reconvene at, what did we say, Jonathan, like 5? 15?
Yeah, if that's our objective. I mean,
we can break
around?
for the day. Yep, she's going to come and hack with us just when we signal her.
Okay, if folks want to break apart and work on their stuff, that's great. I like the idea of Gabby walking us through the process to get your GitHub repository.
Yeah. Great.
But both seem. When is Gabby coming?
Whenever we ask her.
Okay.
So
I think it depends on what folks' preferences.
Yeah. So Gabby shouldn't walk everybody through that.
Right.
That'd be just some people.
Right.
I think. And there's some teams that are here to hack and kind of advance the projects, I think. So I just want to understand how many people are. So I believe there's one team which is hotel blockchain from like the first of our Sloan Fellows. And I'd like to suggest that with Roman and is it Nachinda? Yeah, Nachinda, if you're still up for it, that we circle up a little bit and just talk through what would be a prototype that would be appropriate and how do we use the IDE and set it up and kind of get everything installed and configured. And I think that feels real good, that one right there. We have got approval, I'm happy to say also, for the, God help me, it's XIM Chain. XIM Chain project is going to carry forward to the spring media ventures class that Sandy runs. And so Jonathan and I can be mentoring that one forward. So everybody's going to demo at the end of January, so they don't get any break on that. So we'll demo something and they'll do all their slides, but then they're going to continue, and we're all happy about that.
The XM crew isn't here, though, right?
So 2 of them are, but they're not going to hack right now.
Okay.
They're here for their music class. And then I think Bill and how do you see that? Simon. Just Simon. Okay. So Bill and Simon, I thought there's like a catch to it. Are going to work on. Simon says, bidding wars, right? Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Going to work on bidding wars in real estate. So if anybody else is interested in that, this is your team. We went through it last night a bit with Jonathan too. We have building blocks, James and Stephen. And is the guy from India?
Access?
Yeah, perhaps Access.
He was on the Hangout.
We wore him out.
But it's about 4 o'clock in the morning.
4 in the morning there. So you guys are gonna be able to advance. Do you want to advance your project while you're here?
Oh yeah. So you had mentioned about going through what you expect for the GitHub.
Yep.
And so we set up a GitHub.
Yeah. So actually, you guys, if you're good, maybe you could be the guinea
pigs.
pigs with Jonathan and Gabby to see if you can fork the repo and get everything hooked up.
That'd be great.
That would be great for everybody, actually. And it's perfect for your project.
Right.
That Open Innovation Network, I believe, should use this code of this Open Innovation Network code. So like, why not just start with our open source and then either reject it for some good reason or advance it or fix it or something, but at least take a good close eye at how we hooked it up and why.
Right.
Everybody part of the Slack channel?
Yeah. Can we? You're not invited to our Slack channel?
No, this one.
Oh, good.
The Open Collab Slack channel. Right?
Yeah. And most of the stuff's in blockchain. So that's good. So why don't you guys stay here, actually? That would probably be the best one.
Lowest entropy.
Yeah, the least entropy. And then what I'm going to suggest is like in general, like in the atrium is a good place to go and circle up and advance things. To use the slides to advance what you're doing. So whatever you're going to hack. I would say, like, on the slides, if you know that you're going to use, I'm not sure what you'd use exactly, but Bill's or, like, Marino's Solidity.
Oh, I use the browser, Space browser.
Solidity browser. I would just say in the slide, like, what we're going to hack is, like, a Solidity browser-based demo of whatever. Just, like, kind of say what you're fixing to hack and what you want to measure. And then maybe the measure is, like, can, like, 2 users, like me and Jonathan, log in, and can I, like, say what the price of the house is and then someone else put a bid on it, and does it in fact not result in whatever, could just say something that you would measure and then we could test it. So I'd say, like, say, what are you going to hack and how are we going to test it?
Actually, I just want to make sure you know what we're trying to ascertain is whether somebody is real. And it's literally in the headlines today. This is the New York Times. Across the country, the government's going to begin tracking luxury home buyers because there's so much dark money moving around the world in real estate transactions.
Yeah. So then you would just say, we will test whether we could ascertain the identity of the voter, and then I'll go on and I'll try to be Jonathan, and then we'll see, did you identify it wasn't Jonathan? So all I'm saying is, like, say what you're going to hack and how we're going to test it. Like, that's it. Like on the slide it says that. Are you good like that? If you do only that today would be a success, because then we'll know where you are, and then we could, like, that's what we consider a good prototype. And then we can also get the right people. So if you're not able to show that thing, we could revise the thing you're showing to be more realistic, or we could find more help to get you to be able to show it.
Does it have to be coded today?
No, just say what you're doing today.
Say
And then we could just see how realistic it is. And by the end of January, we want to make sure you guys can do this stuff. But then while we're all report outs to see where people are at, make sure people are in a good place, and if they have anything that they need. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What time?
4:45. That's it.
Sure. Is that enough time? Okay, I guess that's enough time.
No.
Yep. Okay. So, and online, folks, any questions, comments? We're going to be basically breaking for an hour to advance your projects, and the idea is to fill out the slides and to hack, and then to report out. Does anybody have questions or need help online?
Yes. Can you hear me? Hello?
Mohammed, are you speaking?
Yes, I'm speaking.
Am I on mute?
Yeah, I couldn't.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mohammed. I was on mute. Could you say that again?
I Can you hear me?
Kind of coming in and out.
I couldn't make it in person to today's session. I have an idea and I want like to match up with some guys.
Okay.
I put my question on Slack.
Oh yeah, put it on Slack. And can you encapsulate your idea in one sentence? Sometimes that changes everything.
I can't hear you.
You can't. Okay, Slack it is. So we'll look for you in Slack.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and everybody, we reconvene at 4:45 Eastern time. And I'm going to keep this Hangout open until then, so just come on back and we'll get report outs. Okay, talk to you soon. because I don't think we have Teams in a coherent way.
Yeah.
Oh, and of course we're broadcasting. So, the hacking was so damn successful that people are hacking up a storm right now. I think is what it comes down to. And you don't break the flow of the hack.
No.
That's the cardinal rule of IAP. Do you break the flow of the hack, Jonathan? You do not.
Apparently not.
Apparently not. That's right. And so we're just going to, I think, close out this session now. The report outs have happened sort of informally, and there's many good things percolating up. And then the next stop is tomorrow, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. We will have a session for people that want to come and advance their projects. If people would like to go to Kate Darling's IEP clinic, you can find out more about that at the IEP schedule. That I think starts at like 12 or 1 or something and goes most of the afternoon if you want to learn the intricacies of all that. And I do recommend that if you want to balance it with your project or check in with her later. So check back at MIT.edu/law/blockchain for all the details. And until then, see you online in Slack and Google and Twitter and everywhere. The ether.